Awesome. Well, tonight's lesson came out of a week of learning. Isn't that great? My own personal learnings. God has a way of teaching you things, and then he says, now I want you to take this back to the women. How easy is it for you to walk in humility? To walk consistently, probably is a better question, in humility. How easy is that?
I would say for me, it's pretty difficult because I enjoy fighting against the patriarchy and the misogyny of everything that a woman is taught to be timid, to be mild, to be small, to tiptoe. I'm like, absolutely not. And so it's a unique line for me because I don't feel like being humble should be swallowing yourself or shrinking yourself to be small. Like, I don't think being humble should be pretending you're average when you're not. So I got a little bit of a unique line I walk with.
Yes, very good. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, Tabitha she's a powerhouse, y'all, in case you didn't know that. What
I
about
would
the rest of
echo, I would echo some of what Tabney said because my first instinct is like, well, who asked you? Like, really? And then so then in that space I reel back to go, maybe God is speaking. Maybe this would be good for me. So then that's when humility comes in. But instinct is who asked you and who told you I can't do it myself.
Okay.
What was the question, real quick? Sorry, I was dealing with the dog for a
Yeah,
second.
that's okay. How easy or how difficult is it for you to walk in humility, to walk consistently in humility?
This
Tab,
is
you
Gianna. Sorry,
go.
I can't raise my hand.
That's okay.
Uh, I would say it used to be easier when I had like a consistent job. Now that I don't have one, I find myself comparing like, oh, I have this amount of experience and people with less experience have these jobs. And so I think I it's harder to be humble when I feel like I'm being overlooked, I guess. I don't know how to explain that. And when you've been grinding a long time, Tabney obviously can understand. So yeah, I find it harder right now when I'm not getting what I think I feel I deserve, which obviously, yeah, Christ didn't get that, but it seems harder as of late.
Yeah. And when that freelance, that 1099,
Yeah. Yeah.
project to project, I mean, you have to be your own agent and your own advocate and your own cheerleader. You don't have a company or specific call letters. And so that I'm sure adds to, that the mental gymnastics of it, G.
Yeah, definitely. Especially I've been trying to get an agent and like everything has been, shot down. I can't get an agent. I can't get jobs. It's like I can't get anything. So it's kind of like, oh man. And, everyone's like, people that are of faith close to me, like, God's your agent. I'm like, well, he ain't doing anything either. It seems like, I don't know. But yeah, I feel like right now it's harder in a season when I'm not doing what I feel like I should be doing.
Okay, good, good.
Hearing that because that resonates.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Welcome, Cindy. The question was, how are you at walking in humility, consistently walking in humility? And we were just talking about how difficult it is, especially when you are feeling the defeat of it or you're fighting these battles uphill. You feel like you have to kind of promote yourself, I guess, to some degree, right? So we are going to take a look at Samson tonight. It's going to be an interesting transition. But this was a gentle, I love how God gently redirects me. This is a season of evaluations for me on the job. So I got my whole team. I have to do their end of the year evals, and I have to do one obviously on myself so that I can be evaluated. So you're praising all of what you've done all year. And to be perfectly honest, I'm really good at my job. So you go, how much of it is too much? and you find yourself trying to straddle, but yet, as Tabner was saying, you don't want to put yourself down or not acknowledge, hey, you know what? I'm really great at this. But it was something really interesting this week. We had someone coming in to do a 4.5 hour training for my team on Monday morning. She got sick. So over the weekend, she had sent a message said, I am so sorry. I won't be able to come out. I'm sure you'll be able to make it happen. So Monday morning, I look at it, I go, oh, I need to pull together 4.5 hour training. And of course I did. And it was amazing. But I walked away from it feeling like, girl, you good. You got this. And I am. But this, God redirected me by giving me this lesson because I love how gently he redirects Samson. When Samson gets cocky, and he gets cocky often, he simply redirected him. So often we hear about humility and or pride, and everybody's like, oh, you're so prideful. And it's this horrible slap you down to size. And God doesn't deal with him that way. He just redirects him. And I think for me personally, that was a great lesson of, yeah, sometimes you might get full of yourself, or sometimes you may over, but all you have to do is just take a step back and then keep going. It doesn't mean you don't say who you are. It doesn't mean you don't put your best foot forward. It just means you put God ahead of it. So let's take a look at Samson. Go into Judges 15. There's much to him and much to say about him. We're not going to read all of it, but who wants to give me just a sample, a snippet of who Samson is in the scripture?
Great hair, bad
Great.
judgment in women, full of himself, and then loses it all. And then, let's see, stands between the columns and pushes them out. And kaboom.
True.
He
True.
prayed one last time, give me strength, because they had cut his hair.
Right. Right. All right, Brenda, I see your hand.
So he is a child of promise. He's set apart. They don't talk about how he's promised, but something of they tell the mom you cannot cut his hair because he's a Nazarite. So there's something powerful about his hair being long and untouched. Um, and he's also in the times of judges, so he is a judge,
Mhm.
but he's of unconventional character in regards to the judges we know in Judges itself and of today. And God uses him in a very exceptional way.
Very good. He was a child of promise. I love what Brenda said. He was promised to his mother that he was going to be this man of God, that God was going to use to bring about deliverance, to begin deliverance. So he was a child of promise. Each and every one of us are children of promise from God to the people that he gave us to. And anything that God promises, he protects. So we're going to look at how God protected Samson, often from himself, because a lot of times it was of his own doing. He was very flawed. He was a man of contradiction. He was all over the place, but that did not remove the promise that God had on his life. So just because we go off track or we miss a step here or there, it doesn't remove the promise that God has on our life. So who wants to read? We're in Judges chapter 15. We'll start there. Our focus is going to be only on a few scriptures, but I'm going to read the whole thing. Thank you, Bridget. Do you want to take the whole section or you want to divide it up?
I can take it. Is it just Sam
1
Judges
through
15?
20, the whole chapter, 1 through 20.
Okay.
Thank you.
Later on during the wheat harvest, Samson took a young goat as a present to his wife. He said, I'm going into my wife's room to sleep with her, but her father wouldn't let him in. I truly thought you must hate her, her father explained, so I gave her in marriage to your best man. But look, her younger sister is even more beautiful than she is. Marry her instead. Samson said, This time I cannot be blamed for everything I am going to do to you Philistines. Then he went out and caught 300 foxes. He tied their tails together in pairs, and he fastened a torch to each pair of the tails. Then he lit the torches and let the foxes run through the grain fields of the Philistines. He burned all their grain to the ground, including the sheaves and the uncut grain. He also destroyed their vineyards and olive groves. Who did this? The Philistines demanded. Samson was the reply, because his father-in-law from Timnah gave Samson's wife to be married to his best man. So the Philistines went and got the woman and her father and burned them to death. Because you did this, Samson vowed, I won't rest until I take my revenge on you. So he attacked the Philistines with great fury and killed many of them. Then he went to live in a cave in the rock of Etam. The Philistines retaliated by setting up camp in Judah and spreading out near the town of Lehi. The men of Judah asked the Philistines, Why are you attacking us? The Philistines replied, We've come to capture Samson. We've come to pay him back for what he did to us. So 3,000 men of Judah went down to get Samson at the cave in the rock of Edom. They said to Samson, Don't you realize the Philistines rule over us? What are you doing to us? But Samson replied, I only did to them what they did to me. But the men of Judah told him, We have come to tie you up and hand you over to the Philistines. All right, Samson said, but promise you won't kill me yourselves. We will only tie you up and hand you over to the Philistines, they replied. We won't kill you. So they tied him up with 2 new ropes and brought him up from the rock. As Samson arrived at Lehi, the Philistines came shouting in triumph, but the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon Samson, and he snapped the ropes on his arms as if they were burnt strands of flax, and they fell from his wrists. Then he found the jawbone of a recently killed donkey. He picked it up and killed 1,000 Philistines with it. Then Samson said, With the jawbone of a donkey, I've piled them in heaps. With the jawbone of a donkey, I've killed 1,000 men. When he finished his boasting, he threw away the jawbone, and the place was named Jawbone Hill. Samson was now very thirsty, and he cried out to the Lord, You have accomplished this great victory by the strength of your servant. Must I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of these pagans? So God caused water to gush out of a hollow in the ground at Lehi, and Samson was revived as he drank. Then he named the place the spring of the one who cried out, and it is still in Lehi to this day. Samson judged Israel for 20 years during the period when the Philistines dominated the land.
Okay, let's talk about this. What she just read, what's happening? Talk about the man. I see Cindy shaking her head. Tell me about whatever we just read. What stood out for you?
Samson has an interesting way of justice. He just avenges. Sometimes he's the antagonizer, other times he's like um, the avenger. And he it almost like he just always wants to create a stink for everyone else. Like he doesn't think about everyone else's the consequences on the rest of the people. He just thinks, well, this is what I want to do, and they've wronged me, and I'm going to go do it because I can.
Very true. Gee, I see your hand. Thanks, Brenda.
Yeah, you can hear me all right in the car.
Yes, yes.
I just noticed that he didn't give like glory to God when he used the jawbone. He's like, I did it. It was me. I killed 1,000 people, guys. So there was just no like, oh, this is within God's power. This is what he's blessed me with. So just, yeah, not a lot of humility there for sure.
Yeah. True, true. Anything else? What did God do for him? Just in the course, I mean, he's done a lot, and we haven't even gotten to Samson and Delilah and all that. Just in this one chapter, what did God do for him?
Gave him water when he was thirsty,
Hmm.
when he was demanding and thirsty. I don't get this at all. I'm thinking, well, I can't talk to God like this and get away with it, okay? Not that I would want to, but
Yep. It says that when they tied him up, what is it? Where is it? They bound him with 2 new ropes, let him wait. God broke all that off of him. God did a lot for him. Even though he was mad, he did a lot of dirt. He did a lot of messing up, and God came up behind him, cleaning up a lot of his messes. How has God cleaned up messes behind you? Or is it just Samson who made messes and God cleaned them up? You look at your own life and go, yeah, I made a mess back in that day, and God came behind me and cleaned me up. especially our younger days. You think about yourself when you were younger.
That's
Tabitha.
exactly what's going through my mind. I think about my college days, how terrible I was eating and drinking and lack of sleep and little hydrate. I mean, just those younger, late teen, early adulthood years are insane. And there's no reason that I should be even functioning with my organs. And I'm gonna give God the credit for that because not the best decision. I mean, now, I'm conscious of my diet. If it's too loud, if
Right?
I'm overstimulated. 20 years ago, totally different.
Very good. Thank you. Great example. Anybody think about that? Think about the lives that we've all led. And I don't even know everybody's life, but I know everybody. I know people. We've made some big messes in the course of our lives. And by the grace of God, He has come through and He's cleaned it up. And I want us to look at Samson because he's one of those characters where you go, man, what's wrong with you? He does some crazy, insane things, and God just cleans it up and keep on moving. Why? Why would He do such a thing? Why not just get rid of him and just use somebody else?
Isn't it like he was the child of promise, like Brenda had said? Like there was like he was anointed, I guess, for lack of a better word, like he was supposed to be like something special.
Right?
Mhm. I mean, this seems like a track record of God's. Paul being Saul and Peter. I mean, there's just so many examples. The woman at the well, like he has a track record of picking those who are imperfect, flawed, dangerous to themselves, dangerous to others. So my answer is I see a trend in
Yeah.
Samson.
And aren't we thankful for that trend? Because if we look at ourselves, going back to Tabney's example, we know, man, there are times I go, I shouldn't even still be here, let alone be here preaching the word of God, saying in my right mind. God has done so much for me. And it's easy to slip in and out of it, just as it was with Samson. He slipped in and out of it. He was a child of promise. He was protected. And so he probably just didn't really think about it. If every time you did something stupid, somebody came and cleaned it up, you stopped thinking about it. It's like parents, when moms are doing too much for their kids, and we can look at it and go, oh, mom, you need to pull back. This child needs to learn a lesson. But for the mom, she's trying to protect him, trying to make sure they're okay. God is that protector of us. But I love in the section that we're going to really focus on is what G pointed out. Let's look at Samson's response because he just steps out of bound. So God is doing all this stuff. They bound him. They're doing all this stuff to him. They take his wife. So he comes to fight and want to kill everybody. He's tying foxes' tails together. I mean, he's putting things on fire. He's doing everything crazy. And yet, out of nowhere, there's this jawbone. Out of nowhere, just by chance, right? And then he picks up this jawbone, and what does he do with it? What does he do with the jawbone?
Killed 1,000
It was
Philistines with.
yeah, it was a boatload of
Kills 1,000. Think about that. One person and a jawbone kills 1,000 men. And then look at his response. Bridget, can you read that again? I love G highlighted already, but verse 16, let's focus on that for a minute. Can you read that?
Then Samson said, with the jawbone of a donkey, I've piled them in heaps. With the jawbone of a donkey, I've killed 1,000 men.
Do you guys catch it? I know G did. The jawbone of a donkey. I did this. I did this. Look at me. Ain't I something? That's what we do. That's what we do. He wasn't lying, right? He was telling the truth. Same with us. We can be very truthful about what we're doing, but it's the heart and the perspective in which it's coming across. So There's not a lie in anything he just said. With the jawbone of a donkey, I've made donkeys of them. First of all, what is he saying there by saying that? I've made donkeys of them. What is he doing?
Talking down and talking
Hmm.
smack.
Talking
He's made
smack.
them foolish because a donkey is foolish.
Yes. He's talking smack. He's taunting them. Hey, I am this and y'all ain't nothing. We can get cocky. We can get arrogant. So with a donkey's jawbone, I have made donkeys of them. Then it goes on with the donkey's jawbone, I've killed 1,000 men. Basically, what is he saying about himself?
Untouchable, it, superior.
Yeah, I'm all
I'm
that
all
and a
that,
slice of cheese. Yeah, I'm all that.
just like that.
Just like that. When he finished speaking, he threw the jawbone, and the place was called Ramah-Lehi. So the very thing that he used to kill all these people really became discardable. It's trash. Often the very thing that we become so enamored with, we praise ourselves for, we're prideful about, is really something that means literally nothing. He would not have had a jawbone if it hadn't been for who? Where did the jawbone come from?
Oh, God.
He would not have even had the jawbone if it hadn't been for God.
Mm.
They had tied him all up. He wouldn't have had his hands untied if it hadn't been for God. So again, our truth is true, but it's who are we giving the praise to? And as I was writing this down today, I went, where is God in your praise, BJ? Like I said, this was for me personally. I was writing it down. I was like, okay, God, you're trying to show me something. So I wrote down, where is God in your praise, BJ? Your praise is accurate. Your praise is spot on. You are all of that because you are protected by God and you are
Mm,
gifted by God. But the question is, where is God in your praise? G.
mm.
This isn't to like pump myself up, but so what you're I have to preface it, but when I post on social media, oftentimes because of like being like on TV, people can obviously think that's a certain special thing, or you get praised for that, right? So since I became a disciple, I've made it a point to like all of my captions to have a scripture and like some type of praise in it. And at first I was like, people are gonna think I'm just uber religious, this and that. But really, it wasn't even for those reading it; it was for myself, so that I would remember this what you're talking about. And so that just reminded me of what you're saying. I want to always keep in mind because sometimes the job can be really flashy that I do, and I know before God, if like when I was growing up, I wanted to be like a Disney Channel star. And I often think God did not allow me to because I would have been a diva. Like, I think I probably would have been not great. I wouldn't have found him, is what I'm saying. So,
Yeah,
I just, that's what when you were talking, made me think.
that's awesome. That's a great example. And I don't want us to think that when we praise what God has gifted us with, that it's all pride, because it is not. I'm just saying, make sure that we praise God for it, which is exactly what G is saying. So, what I do want us to do, and it sometimes is easy, most of the time it's difficult. What has God gifted you with that He wants you to be proud of and He wants you to praise? He just wants you to give Him the praise. What is your gifted area? And everybody has one, more than one, but what is your gifted area? Because the world tells us not to admit such things. That's prideful. But I beg to differ. It's prideful if we don't give God the glory.
The glory, yeah. I would say that I have the gift of not giving a hoot. And because I don't give a hoot, I will approach anybody and I'll say hello. So it's kind of like you don't give a hoot, so you have the ability to flirt with anyone and anybody just to help them go, I see you. I appreciate that you're here. You are alive. And I hope that you have a good day. And because of that, um, God has blessed me with so many friends, even random strangers. And also, I'm able to bring light to people's lives. And I'm unforgettable.
Good. Good. Thank you, Brenda.
You're welcome.
Most of us aren't comfortable enough to say, I'm unforgettable. But yet God has made her unforgettable. It's okay to step into what God has gifted you with. Who else? Give me at least one more. No brave souls? No. Gee.
I didn't want to talk too much, but I'll add there. I think God's gifted me with the ability to have like listening ears. I often have people that I meet like immediately want to share deep things about their lives, or people have asked me to come alongside them through really tragic things and be that person for them. So I think God has given me just this ability to let people speak freely and not judge them and help them through really hard times. So I feel like that's one of my strengths that people don't see from like the outside perspective if they don't know it.
Right. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Jennifer. Thank G.
I would say like grit and resilience. You know what I mean? And that's really taken me a long way in my life, even when I didn't believe in myself, and has really afforded me a lot of opportunities. So, yeah.
Very good. I agree. And that grit just got her across the graduation stage, guys. So, yay,
Thanks,
yay.
PJ.
Yeah, I want us to, who's that? Brenda, I see your hand.
Oh no, I was just clapping.
Oh,
But
that's applause.
but I'm like, I'm looking at Bridget, I'm looking at Tabney, I'm looking at Cindy, and I'm like, these ladies are so amazing. But hey, I won't toot your horns, but God has given you gifts like um Tabney, just the ability to come up with statements that are so long lasting that we keep your quotes. I quote you. I'm like, by Tabney, God equips the whatever calls the like animal. Don't ask me how I know Tabney. She's just out there. And Bridget, just bravery and continuing to go through, even if they struggle, you continue to trust. So, and then Cindy, your beautiful art that you just continually share with the world. So, yeah, so much.
Thank you, Brenda. That was beautiful.
Leave it up to our nighttime DJ. No, thank you, Brenda.
The quiet storm voice herself.
Yeah, everybody, and thank you, Brenda. Very beautiful. Everyone has something, and I never want us to downplay the gift of God. I want us to see that that is equally hurtful to downplay the gift of God as it is to misplace the gift of God and give it to ourselves. That's what Samson was doing. It was simply misplaced. I did this, I did this. But there was a turnaround that took place when we get over to look at verse 17. When he finished speaking, he threw away the jawbone, and then the place was called Ramath Lehi. Verse 18. Because he was very thirsty, he cried out to the Lord. This is the first time in the whole chapter he cries out to God. What made him cry out?
Thirst.
He had a personal need, and it became that if he could die. So it's like self-preservation was really high on this one.
Yes. Cindy, you unmuted. Go ahead.
His mother wasn't there to spoon feed him. Because I was reading in, chapter 14, get
Mhm.
me that woman. And
Mhm.
I just really despise that. I just despise his whole attitude. I'm having a hard time with
Yes.
this because I feel like God has excused his arrogance And I do not understand why. There must be some reason. Okay, he's a judge. Okay, yada, yada. But what gives him license to do that and have that attitude and say, I'm crying out to God now, I get some water. Yeah, after I just praised myself and beat my chest. So that doesn't really sync up with all the other things that I read. So I'm going to
Okay.
play devil's advocate.
All right. Let's discuss that. Let's discuss that. She said that doesn't play out or match up to other things that I read. Give me some feedback. What do you guys say?
Hold on. I think I didn't understand so is it the fact that Samson is living in a time where tradition honors men so much that women are maybe not even esteemed, or that he didn't respect his mom? I no,
No,
what part was it?
Mm.
she's not understanding why God is blessing the wickedness of this man. Right, Cindy?
Oh,
Is that a summary?
Yeah, he's
ah,
arrogant, he's
Yeah,
selfish, he's entitled,
right.
he's spoiled.
yes,
That kid was spoiled.
Yes.
yeah.
And
Okay.
God is taking care of him. And I'm going, wow.
Okay.
What
It's
happened? This sounds like
almost
a double standard.
Okay, let's discuss this. It's going to be good discussion. Thank you, Cindy.
okay.
Bridget, you
Hi.
So
just
it. Oh,
unmuted. Hold on.
sorry.
Bridget unmuted,
Mhm.
Brenda, and then we'll come back.
Mhm.
Oh, go ahead. Or do I go?
Bridget, go.
Um, I agree with Cindy because I feel like even up to this point, there are other stories of God interacting with men on earth and like saying like who's acting wicked or arrogant and like not allowing them to continue. Like he found favor with Noah, who was, in his eyes good and everyone else was wicked. So like that doesn't to me also like match with this because I feel like Samson would have drowned in that flood because he's not good. Just one example.
Okay. All right. Brenda?
So yes, and I am also thinking, okay, let's simplicity. Samson still has his hair. So God is tied to a covenant he made through this dude in you're a Nazarite. So as long as you still have your hair, I'm not gonna touch you. Because you see that when he loses his hair, things go crazy. Like God is able to. But there's the other part too where I think of how echoing like Exodus, where God works through Pharaoh. And even as he continues to harden his heart, God is like, I'm trying to prove something.
Hmm.
So there is something in there where God still hasn't shined. I don't know how to use it. Like he hasn't still shined, or people are still not acknowledging the power of God. And
Hmm.
he needs to continue overlooking, like quote unquote overlooking Samson's misdeeds, because he still has something that he's yet to show, so that people can acknowledge that there is a God in Israel.
Good. Okay. Anyone else in this argument before I jump on in there? I love it. I love debates.
Just that I echo Cindy. I mean, reading when Bridget was reading it, my nose was turning up, and I was like, he keeps getting sick. Like I had that same kind of like, ew, like thought that she has, and how saying it doesn't line up. I agree.
Okay. Good. When God
Oh,
steps, go ahead. Who is that? I heard someone's voice.
sorry, it's Gianna. I had to go home. Z's trying to talk. I was going to say, yeah, echoing the same sentiment. This is exactly how I feel most of the time when I read David. Like I've told you this a billion times, I cannot see like good stuff in David. Like it's very hard for me. And so that's a huge thing for me when it says like he's a man after God's own heart. I'm like, oh, the man that like just takes Bathsheba, kills her husband, like devises this plan, and then he just wants to be good later. I don't know. Everyone always says like, well, haven't you messed up? But it's just really hard for me to see why God, you know, continues to work with men that are like make these decisions. I don't know. It's very odd for me. And
Okay.
then to call him after his own heart, that makes me question God's character. Because I'm like, David's character at that phase of his life is not one that I admire.
Okay. Good. Yes. Yeah, I had a whole choir of everybody agreeing. All right. When we look at God, and I think this is where we need to be careful. Am I looking at the character of God, or am I looking at the character of the people that God are using? Which one is bringing us the greatest amount of angst and frustration?
The character of the people he's using.
When Cindy had said, I don't see, I think she used the word consistency. I think she used that. Somebody used that word. The consistency of God is what we're always looking for, because you will always find inconsistencies in the people that he uses. So I said in the beginning, this man is flawed. He's contradictions. He's all sorts of things. But I think the lesson is not to put our eyes on the people for consistency, but to put our eyes on God. And I think, and I want to take it back just a little bit, in chapter 13, at the birth of Samson, it clearly says, hold on, in verse 5, you will become pregnant, talking to the mom. You will become pregnant and have a son whose head is never to be touched by a razor, because the boy is to be a Nazarite, dedicated to God from the womb. He will take the lead in delivering Israel from the hands of the Philistines. He had a role in God's story, in God's play. Not to be the star player, but he was to take the lead in the deliverance. Who needs deliverance?
The Israelites do.
And the Israelites are
Being delivered. Oh,
represents us. Thank you, Cindy. I see the visual. People. So if he chose someone who was perfect and straight, would that person represent those needing deliverance?
probably not.
So we look at God chose him very specifically for a reason. Flawed, inconsistent, whining, all those things, all those adjectives that Cindy put out there on purpose, because he's us, we are him. He was going to take the lead in the deliverance. So if God had chosen, honestly, anyone who did not look like us, then where's our hope of deliverance? He needed somebody who got angry. We needed somebody who would lose their temper. We needed somebody who's going to tie foxes, who would throw, he is so out there, but it's because God wanted the most out there person to see you too can have deliverance, because I'm using him to begin this process. Funny enough, G, it goes on from him to David, which I know you also have a problem with. But I want us to take our eyes off of the character of the people, because that gets very frustrating, because there's a part of us that want the people to be better. But God did not choose us because we're better. He chose us because we're lost and we need deliverance. So the consistency is in the God, not in the people. Does that make any sense? Cindy.
I was not commenting about the consistency of the people. I was picking up inconsistencies in God's behavior.
Yes.
Why he would choose this, put up with this when other people are sent into flames. So I'm not feeling great about it. But
Okay.
I mean, I can't question God. He's got a role for him to play. This is very clear that he's going to deliver Israel. Maybe he is reflective of the Israelites' character, their rebellion, because that was quite obvious here in
Yes.
Judges.
Yes.
Each man did as he thought in his heart. I mean humans.
Right.
Each woman did what she thought in her heart was right. And
Right.
it did not work out very well. So I don't understand God's thinking here. Okay, yes, he can use very evil people to accomplish his purposes.
Mhm.
but it looks like he's passing over his sins and that he's getting some kind of a card to pass through. And I don't like seeing that.
Okay.
No,
True.
I
I guess.
don't.
No, no, no. It's all good.
It
That's
doesn't look fair. It doesn't
doesn't
look
look
right.
fair, but I
But
want
God
to.
is not necessarily fair, and I know that,
True.
but I'm just expressing how this kind of is hitting me.
Yeah, no, I understand and I appreciate that. And I just want us to see we too are Samson. And there have been some hard passes in our own lives that God has allowed to slip through. So we can look at his and go, "Ugh." But if we turn the mirror on ourselves, we'll see that I'm not that far off from him. And I'm thankful that God gave me a hard pass. So just to be careful in how we view it. The man in the mirror and the songs coming into my head. I started with, but it's hard. It is hard. It's hard to look at any character, especially when you have been um, not chastised. I don't know, have a better word, disciplined for something, and then you see someone do it the same thing or something worse and not get disciplined. But that is the decision of God and not our decision. But I love the fact what God is showing us is that this is me showing you that deliverance is possible for all. So I'm going to use one of the worst characters I can possibly find just to show you how forgiving and loving I am. And if we go back to chapter 15, I want us to see that's really exactly what happens. He goes from the I did this and I killed that and I did that. And then he goes on and goes, now I'm thirsty. Why you late? Bring me out here now. I'm going to die of thirst. But in that, once he started to feel it physically, once it started to have a personal impact on him, he called out to God. That's what we do. That's why I know I've said it a number of times. There are no atheists when you're in a car accident. Everybody screams out. Somehow we find God, we find Jesus, we find somebody. When he's hurting, he calls out. But the part that really struck me today was when he said, because of the very thirst, he cried out to the Lord and he used the very next word was you. It's the first time he said you. Up until then, it was I, it was I, it was I. But in the second part of verse 18 says you. All of a sudden, his focus went back to where it needed to have been. What was God's response? Or where do we see his response?
It's in verse 19. It's right after it.
Verse 19.
Yep.
I did a play on on two little words today. The first word in verse 18 was you, and then the second word in verse 19, then. When he called out to God, God responded. When we call out to God, God responds. God didn't make him beg, even though we feel like he probably should have. God didn't put him through the ringer and say, you go do this first and you come back and I'll give you some. He cried out to God and God responded. I love the fact that God doesn't make us jump through. We make us jump through hoops. God doesn't make us jump through hoops. When we cry out to him, he stops and he listens. He didn't say, well, you're not worthy to be listened to. I'll get back to you when you go fix something. Go untie all those fox tails that you put together. Go put out all the fire. He didn't have him do all that. Now, God calls us obviously to repentance. But my point is, in here, when he called out, God responded. When we fall on our knees and we call out, God responds. That's the character of God. He's trying to always lure us to him, trying to bring us to him. Life gets confusing when we start praising the gift, the jawbone, the whatever it is that we have going for us, and not the gifter. That's what really Samson was guilty of in this particular section, was he was praising himself, he was praising the jawbone, he was praising his ability to fight, he was praising everything except the gifter of those things. And if we're honest, we do the same. May not look exactly that way, but we can tend to do the same. I saw this little blurb about this guy. He's a guitar player and classical musician. And he was having this concert, and everybody was going on and on about the music. Oh, it was so beautiful. Look at that. Isn't that guitar beautiful? They were talking about how the wood, they were talking about how it had ivory little thingies on. They were going on and on about the tone and all of that. And this was in his concert. He said, I kept hearing all the, so everybody was all up in arms about how wonderful his instrument was. So finally he stopped, he took the instrument and gently set it aside and said, so how does it sound now? And his
Beautiful.
point was, yes, we can get so enthralled with the instrument, but we forget the person that's responsible for the sound of that instrument.
Mm.
And that's really Samson. He got all up in arms about his own everything, but he forgot that there was a God that made all that possible. And I want us to simply just look at ourselves and go, when I get haughty, when I get prideful and full of myself, it's simply, I've forgotten. I'm looking at how great my instrument is. BJ's good, man. That girl, she can drop something down. She can do a training at the drop of a hat. And everybody's like, whoa, I can't believe you just came up with all of that. True. But if I forget who gave me that ability, then I'm no different from Samson with my jawbone going, I just killed today, man. I trained everybody. That's who Samson was, but that's also who I'm capable of being. So it's just looking at the beauty or the praise goes to our God, not to us and what we're able to do. We don't hide the gift of what we're able to do, but we give the praise to our God. So going back to my initial title for myself, where is God in your praise, BJ? So whatever it is that you've got going on, simple question, where is God in your praise? Don't hide it. Don't turn it down. Just put God in it. Samson messed up because he ceased to put God in it until it started to take a physical. We shouldn't have to hurt in order to call upon God, but often we do. Amen?
Amen.
All right. It got really quiet. It was like, ooh, it's a hush.
It's a contemplative time.
When we refocus, God refills. That's what God gave me today. He's like, BJ, I'm not asking you to do anything but refocus. When we refocus, God refills. He gives you what you need. So let's not make it so heavy. Sometimes I think we make God and religion so heavy when I don't think it has to be. You mess up, you go, God, I'm sorry. You forget to do something, you go, oh, shoot, I didn't mean to do that. Sometimes I think God responds just to us saying, oops, messed up. Don't have to cry and snot and go get tissue and boo-hoo. Sometimes, but I think most of the time it's just simply, God, I'm sorry. Keep it simple. What's KISS? That's an acronym for KISS. You guys know that keep it simple. Keep it simple, sister.
Nope, never heard of that.
Cindy.
Keep it simple, stupid.
I know. I was trying to be nice.
You're
I was
trying to
like,
be
that's what I
nice,
had too.
PC. That's what I got.
All right, then keep it simple, stupid. It shouldn't be that difficult. Okay? Give me some feedback. I know we're still messed up over Samson being such a stubborn knucklehead, but Give me some feedback. Let's close this baby out. Cindy.
It is interesting, and things don't always happen this way. When we
Hmm.
cry out to God, He does not necessarily immediately respond. That is life. That's real life. I
Yes,
just want to make a statement that this isn't cookie cutter, like if A, then B. There's a then in there, but it just happens to be for his case at that time.
correct.
So sometimes I can feel like, well, I've cried out to God and I got goose egg. And it's been a while. So I don't want to trivialize kind of like, what you're trying to put forth, but it isn't necessarily a follow on every time. I have to get to know God completely, more completely, for me to understand why I'm waiting, why this is so hard, what is going on. And I may not know all of it, but He'll give me pieces, I think, that will keep me from, jumping ship and running off a cliff, which I'm fully capable of doing.
Okay, thank you. It's
Thanks,
never
BJ.
cookie cutter, never cookie cutter, guys.
No, it isn't. No,
Anything we look at, it's serving a purpose in that moment.
in that
Uh,
time. Yes.
Bridget, what were you sharing?
Um, I I feel like, yeah, I still have like a weird time accepting Samson, but also like I understand that we all mess up. But the jawbone part and then the end when he like is like, look how good I am, or like, yay, me, it kind of reminded me of in the New Testament when Jesus heals those, I think, three or four men, and only one comes back to say thank you.
Mm,
So it sort of made me think of that, where it's like, where's your praise? And like, it's like, where are the others? And he's like, oh, it's just me that came back. So I feel like sometimes like that's something that I have, that particular story is something I've prayed over in the past. Like, don't let me forget that it's you and not me that's doing this. But
Right.
Samson, eventually when he was in pain, he figured it out.
Okay. And remember, this is not the end of his story. We're in the middle of his story. It goes on. There's other stuff, but he does get back to a relationship, but it takes him a while. He's hard-headed. He's hard-headed. G.
mm,
I think throughout a lot of the stories and then even today, it's just a reminder to me of like, it's not how you finish. It's not even how you are in the middle. Like, it's how you end. Like, you know, there's several people that were like, oh, they were good for like 90% at the end. They did something crazy. It's like, I don't know. I just think of like certain people in the Bible that I'm like, I think that they're stellar. And then, oh, that just ending was bad. But then you see people like David, or you see people like Samson, like he changes at the end, or he really gets it right at the end. So I think for me, it's just like, yes, like all parts of this journey are important, but like I hope at the end, like I arrive, hopefully. Like I get to that point and maybe my life will look just as messy as these men I'm judging, but
It will.
and hopefully I arrive though.
mm.
Yeah, right. I'm not saying I'm better than them. I'm not better than Samson. I'm not saying that.
Brenda, did you unmute to say something?
Oh no, I've just been
Oh,
on mute for a while.
okay.
But thank you so much for just shedding light on uh, just how God continually uses us regardless of like that part where you said, okay, what's the instrument and who is behind the instrument? Who's making the instrument beautiful or ugly? And to what purpose?
Yeah.
That part. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. While we're busy noticing the instruments, and you didn't realize the mastery was not in the wood, but in the one who knew what to do with it. That's how it was written. Like God knows what to do with it. We're the wood. We're messy. We might get chipped. We might be, whatever the case may be, but God knows what to do with it. Um, there's a little story I'm going to share it. I don't really know exactly if it ties into this, but something Cindy said kind of tweaked it. This week I had we're at the end of the school year. Obviously, I had this little girl, and well, the tie-in is the love of God is ultimately what keeps us going, even in the messy. But we had this little girl end of the school year, and everybody's all excited, and she was heartbroken. She was crying that school's out because now there's less food. I mean, she had a whole plethora, but it wasn't in a terrible way. She was telling me the story. Well, now food is more inconsistent because we give them food bags um, on Fridays to get them through the weekends. So now school's out. There's no food bags to get us through the weekends. But she was sharing, but that's okay. But her heartbreak was that they were having to move from the motel they were in that had two beds to a motel that only had one. There's a family of four, one bed. It didn't have a refrigerator and it didn't have the microwave. That's what they had kind of life had become built around that. And she was going to have to give up her dog because they couldn't afford to buy more food. So that was the part that really broke her heart. And as I'm listening to it, my friend and myself, we're all thinking, man, what's wrong with these parents? Take care of your kids. You feel yourself almost like we look at Samson and go, what's wrong with you? And she turned around and said, but it's going to be really cool because I get to spend more time with my parents. And my parents are the best. I love my parents.
Oh.
And our faces literally went, okay, lesson. It was just a lesson because we focused on, my friend and I were there trying to be helpful. And our focus was on all of the wrong things, all the things that had gone wrong for this young child at the hands of her parents. They should have been better. They should have did this. And her dad worked two jobs. He just didn't have enough for that motel. You know what I mean? So it was just a sad situation, but it was so easy for us to go to all of what was wrong in this situation. And she just kind of flipped the script and went, even in spite of all of these bad things, let me tell you how awesome my parents are. And it just changed my perspective. I'm going, no matter how bad these characters are that we are seeing, and no matter how bad we are, it doesn't change the goodness of God. And if we can see them that way, as this child saw her parents that way, that is what keeps us connected to God. We are connected to him not because we did good. I know that's not great grammar, or he did well. We're connected to him because of the love that we see in him and the love that he sees in us. It was just a moment. Like I said, I don't even know how it ties into this, but something Cindy said just kind of brought that back to my attention. But I try to fight to God, let me just see you. Let me love you. Let me take my eyes off of all the other stuff because the other stuff can make me crazy, especially if I'm trying to make sense of it. Like Cindy said, I can't try to make sense of things. Sometimes I have to just, God, I'm stupid. I'm just not going to even try. Keep it simple, stupid. I'm not going to even try to figure it out. I'm just going to love you and trust you. And that's all I need right now. That's all she needed. She was up and running and off and doing cartwheels, but she was happy. She was just telling me, her point was, I'm sad I got to give up my dog. But she didn't think any less about her parents based on that. She didn't think any less about her situation. Everything in life was still great, even though everything in life was messy. Same for us. Life is great, even though life is messy because of our love and our relationship with God. Amen?